Welcome to Our Daily Chews, your go-to podcast for all things nutrition. I'm Lynn Clayton, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and your host. I help you sort fact from fiction with a research-based and common-sense approach to nutrition science. Today, we're exploring the use of sugar substitutes and their impact on diabetes and weight management. I'll discuss the pros, the cons, and the concerns. We're all familiar with the battle against sugar, especially for those managing diabetes or trying to shed a few pounds. It seems sugar is added to most of our food products today. While that may thrill our taste buds, it's not doing much for our waistlines or the diabetes epidemic. But what about sugar alternatives? Science has given us a variety of artificial or non-nutritive sweeteners that offer sweetness without the blood sugar spike or the calorie overload. But are sugar substitutes better for us? I wanted to research these alternatives and share with you because I once had a teenage patient with a caring father who told me he allowed his daughter to drink Diet Coke, but she wasn't allowed to eat bananas because they have too much sugar. The girl did have excess body fat, plus her family history put her at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. But was a Diet Coke better for her than a banana? Well, let's see what research says. The FDA has approved 6 non-nutritive sweeteners for use in our food supply. These include, in order of their FDA approval date, we have aspartame, saccharin, asulfame potassium, sucralose, neotame, and advantame. Let's look at each of these separately. Aspartame was FDA approved in 1974. It's commonly found in those iconic blue packets under the brand name Equal. Aspartame is about 200 times sweeter than sugar and is a go-to choice for many because of its taste similarity to sugar. Whether you're sweetening your morning coffee or mixing up a refreshing beverage, aspartame is a versatile companion in the quest for sweetness without the calories. Aspartame has been one of the most extensively studied food additives, and there seems to be a consensus from all regulatory agencies from major countries as well as professional organizations such as the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, and the American Cancer Society regarding the relative safety of aspartame. However, people who have difficulty metabolizing phenylalanine, which is an essential amino acid, because of a rare genetic disorder called phenylketonuria or PKU, they should avoid or restrict aspartame. And I would also add those prone to seizures or headaches, especially migraine, may want to minimize your exposure to aspartame as well. It's also advised to avoid aspartame during pregnancy. The acceptable daily intake, or ADI, for aspartame is 50 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day, according to the FDA. That translates to about 92 packets of Equal per day, or about 18 cans of diet soda, depending on the amount of aspartame in each can, for a 150-pound person. Both the European Food Safety Authority and the Joint Committee formed by the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations and the World Health Organization recommend a slightly lower ADI for aspartame at 40 milligrams per kilogram per day. Either way, that's a lot of blue packets and diet soda. While aspartame appears safe to use in reasonable amounts, there are still possible health effects that are unknown to us. Just apply the same caution you would for sugar. Enjoy a little, but not too much, and make sure your overall diet includes all the right foods for sufficient nutrients. Next is saccharin. Saccharin is a pioneer in the world of artificial sweeteners. It has been around for over a century. This organic compound with a sweet taste was discovered by chemists Remsen and Fahlberg in a lab at Johns Hopkins University in 1879. Saccharin became the first commercially available non-nutritive sweetener coming out prior to the FDA approval process. During World War I, saccharin became popular due to the sugar shortage. In the 1960s, it gained favor to help with weight loss. You probably know it best in its pink packet labeled with a brand name Sweet and Low. Since saccharin is 200 to 700 times sweeter than granulated sugar, you only need a tiny amount to satisfy that sweet tooth. And although sweeter than sugar, it does have a slightly bitter and metallic aftertaste. Saccharin is relatively heat stable, making it suitable for use in baked goods. It provides no calories and does not promote tooth decay. It is not metabolized by the body, so it's excreted unchanged. And saccharin has had its fair share of controversy, however. In the 1970s, researchers found rats giving high doses of saccharin had a greater incidence of developing bladder cancer. In 1977, when saccharin became FDA approved, Congress required packaging of saccharin to display a cancer warning label. However, in 2000, after epidemiological studies had made no connection to saccharin use and bladder cancer in humans, and scientists had discovered that humans metabolize saccharin differently than rats, the warning label requirement was rescinded. More research has looked at the effect non-nutritive sweeteners may have on the gut microbiome and the potential impact on health, a hot topic in recent years. In a study published in 2022 in the journal Nutrients titled Potential Effects of Sucralose and Saccharin on Gut Microbiota, a review, researchers concluded, and I quote, indeed, the mechanisms by which low-calorie and non-calorie sweeteners may alter the gut microbiota remain unclear, and it is not possible to conclude at present whether their effects is direct on the microbiota or mediated by the metabolic situation of the host, for which there are still no conclusive studies. End of quote. The difficulties with determining the effect of these non-nutritive sweeteners on human gut microbiota is complicated by the fact that individuals' gut microbiota varies. How one gut bacteria may interact with saccharin does not mean all gut bacteria will interact the same way. There are too many variables. Therefore, the results are inconclusive. Another research paper entitled Long-Term Saccharin Consumption and Increased Risk of Obesity, Diabetes, Hepatic Dysfunction, and Renal Impairment in Rats proposes another conclusion. It says, I quote, the administration of saccharin throughout the treatment period was correlated with impaired kidney and liver function. Both hyperglycemia and obesity-inducing side effects were observed. There was an increased oxidative status of the liver. Therefore, it is suggested that saccharin is unsafe to be included in the diet. End of quote. In this study used a control group and 3 experimental groups of rats, which were treated with different doses of saccharin at 2.5, 5, and 10 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, respectively. Each experimental group received sodium saccharin once per day for 120 days, while the control group was treated with distilled water only. But do rat studies translate to humans? Well, while the FDA has approved saccharin for human consumption, they do include an acceptable daily intake at 15 milligrams per kilogram of body weight daily. This would equal about 45 packets of sweet and low per day for a person weighing 132 pounds. Just notice this ADI is higher than the dose used in rats. Next on our list is acesulfame potassium, also known as ACE-K for short. This joins the party with a taste 200 times sweeter than sugar. This sugar alternative holds up well under heat, making it another great option for baking. This trait makes it appear in lots of food products. It's a staple for your low-calorie, sugar-free desserts, and you'll find it in the ingredients list of many food products today. It has been FDA approved since 1988. Even though the International Agency for Research on Cancer and the joint FAO and WHO Expert Committee on Food Additives issued a report in July of 2023 concluding that aspartame should be labeled as partially carcinogenic to humans, the FDA argues the point that being possibly carcinogenic does not mean that aspartame is actually linked to cancer. Their statement reads, and I quote, FDA scientists do not have safety concerns when aspartame is used under the approved conditions, end of quote. Aspartame has also received the green light for use from other regulatory authorities, such as Health Canada and the European Food Safety Authority. Both consider it safe at the current permitted use levels. The ADI for asulfame potassium is 15 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day. That's equivalent to 23 packets of Sweet One or Sunnet, the brand names of Ace K, for a 132-pound person. No discussion about sugar substitutes would be complete without mentioning sucralose, also known by its brand name Splenda. This popular powder in the yellow packet was discovered and introduced in the late 1970s. It was approved for use in Canada in 1991 and FDA approved in the US in 1998. It's 600 times sweeter than sugar. With a molecular formula of C12H19Cl3O8, it's not to be confused with sucrose with a molecular formula of C12H22O11. Superficially, sucrose and sucralose molecules look similar. Sucralose is actually made from sucrose by replacing 3 of the oxygen-hydrogen groups with chlorine. By adding chlorine molecules, sucralose is not metabolized by the body and it contributes no calories. But unlike most artificial sweeteners, sucralose doesn't have that bitter aftertaste. It's also heat stable, making it suitable for baking. But if cooked long enough or at high enough temperature, it can release potentially harmful compounds called chlorophenols. Studies have not shown any links between sucralose and cancer or developmental defects. It's considered safe for children, pregnant, and nursing women, as well as for people with diabetes. Interestingly, however, sucralose has been shown to raise blood sugar in certain people. Studies have also shown sucralose may increase insulin and blood glucose levels and decrease insulin sensitivity, all effects that people with diabetes are trying to avoid. One study from 2020 found on the NIH website titled The Hidden Hazardous Effects of Stevia and Sucralose Consumption in Male and Female Albino Mice in Comparison to Sucrose concluded, and I quote, in conclusion, non-caloric sweeteners, either artificial sucralose or natural stevia, had several risks to their consumers. They are responsible for 1, increasing glycemia in spite of their lack of calories, 2, increasing liver enzymes due to the intestinal flora reshaping, 3, elevation of urea and creatinine levels, 4, reduction of the anti-inflammatory cytokines, and elevation of the pro-inflammatory cytokines secretion. On the other hand, sucrose is a caloric sweetener with some risk, of course, but it is safer than sucralose or stevia, so we recommend not using sucralose or stevia and decreasing the used daily dose of sucrose instead. End of quote. With that said, the ADI of sucralose, according to the FDA, is 5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day. That's equal to about 23 packets of Splenda per day for a 132-pound person. Now let's talk about a newcomer to the scene called neotame. Neotame was introduced in 2002, and it's incredibly potent, clocking in at a whopping 7,000 to 13,000 times sweeter than sugar. Yes, you heard that right. Due to its intense sweetness, only a minuscule amount is needed to achieve the desired level of sweetness in your culinary creations. The ADI for neotame, also known as brand name Nutame, is 0.3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day, or about 23 packets of neotame. Fortunately, at that level of sweetness, it doesn't take much. The most recent and lesser known non-nutritive sweetener is Advantame. This newcomer was FDA approved as a food additive in 2014 and has the most intense sweet taste at 20,000 times sweeter than sucrose. It's also heat stable, so it may be used in baked goods. The ADI is 32.8 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day, or about 4,290 packets of Advantame for a 132-pound person. There is such a thing as too much sweet, don't you think? Even with current research showing their safety, Newer research continues to emerge questioning the benefits and safety of using these non-nutritive sweeteners. The World Health Organization released an article in May of 2023 advising people to avoid using non-nutritive sweeteners for weight control. The recommendation is based on a systematic review of the available evidence, which suggests that use of non-sugar sweeteners does not confer any long-term benefit in reducing body fat in adults or children. Results of the review also suggest that there may be potential undesirable effects from long-term use of sugar substitutes, such as increased risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and mortality in adults. They recommend finding ways to decrease overall sugar intake instead and focus on natural sugars from whole fruits. So, to answer the question posed at the beginning of this podcast, it seems the caring father would have been better off giving his teenage daughter a banana and skipping the Diet Coke, as long as bananas are consumed in moderation, of course. The debate will continue as different groups possess their own thoughts and beliefs regarding sugar and sugar alternatives. Those with financial interest in either will undoubtedly be at odds with one another as the controversy continues. One thing we know for sure is more research is needed to investigate the long-term safety of using artificial sweeteners. As with most things in life, time will tell. In the meantime, if you choose to use any of these sweeteners, using a reasonable amount of the sweet stuff in your diet may be okay. Remember, in large amounts, sugar is not good for your health either. Moderation is still your best and safest bet. When your taste buds are bombarded with sweets, whether it's too much sugar or intensely sweet sugar substitutes, it can cause cravings for sweets and possibly lead to overeating, obesity, insulin resistance, and less nutritious food choices. Gradually cut back on the sweet stuff, whatever you're using, and retrain your taste buds to love the flavors of real food like naturally sweet fruit. Natural, unprocessed sugar and whole foods, in moderation, are always going to be better for you. That concludes our sweet journey through the world of artificial, non-nutritive sweeteners. Remember, whether you're managing diabetes, watching your weight, or simply looking for a healthier alternative to sugar, limiting your amount is the best solution. Thanks for listening to Our Daily Chews. Until next time, remember to choose your sweet wisely for good health. This podcast is sponsored by Clayton Nutrition, a private medical nutrition therapy practice offering telehealth services for those needing nutrition therapy to prevent, treat, or manage chronic health issues, whether it's diabetes, cardiovascular concerns, food allergies, digestive issues, or weight management. We focus on good nutrition for better health. Check out my resources, blog articles, and one-to-one nutrition services at claytonnutrition.com. And Clayton Nutrition is offering Better Diabetes Control, a 6-video module course covering everything you need to know about managing diabetes. This online course helps provide answers to your questions about controlling diabetes, and it includes a booklet and resources to guide you. Through the end of April, Better Diabetes Control is available at half off the regular price. Just go to claytonnutrition.com/nutrition-courses to learn more and sign up to get started. Clayton Nutrition also offers an online course for weight management. This 8-video module called A Better Way to Better Health is packed with resources to help you along your weight loss journey. Check it out at claytonnutrition.com/nutrition-courses for more information and to sign up. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace the advice of your healthcare professional. I recommend you seek help from a trained professional who can work with you in your specific situation.